Marvel is a juggernaut that cannot be stopped. Or is it?
We're saving the galaxy again? Yep. Awesome! We're really gonna be able to jack up our prices for two-time galaxy savers. Yes!
Hey there guys, how are you? It's me, the Canadian Movie Buff, with the long-awaited review of Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. Taking place like a few months after the events of the first movie, the Guardians find themselves in battle with this alien race called the Sovereign People. They end up crash landing on a planet, and then this mysterious ally comes out of nowhere and helps them out. Turns out it's Peter's dad, Ego. But evil arises as they have to save the galaxy and perhaps the entire universe once again. Ever since the first Guardians movie struck a chord with audiences in 2014, people have come to love the weird side of Marvel. If it weren't for that movie, we probably wouldn't have Ant-Man or Doctor Strange. So in response to the positive reception, a sequel was scheduled for the first weekend in May, a summer spot that Marvel pretty much owns at this point. And while it is one of Marvel's better sequels, it doesn't quite catch lightning in a bottle twice. Because this only takes place a few months after the first one, there's still that dysfunctional family unit, and there's a leadership rivalry between Peter Quill and Rocket that turns sour pretty quickly. This causes a rift within the group that stays there until the final act. Speaking of family, Kurt Russell is a welcome addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Peter's dad, a Celestial named Ego. I guess we solved the mystery of why he's called Star-Lord. Chemistry between Chris Pratt and Kurt Russell felt very real. I did not doubt for a moment that these characters were father and son. The 28-year age gap between Pratt and Russell doesn't hurt either. They also brought back Yondu and Nebula, two minor antagonists from the first movie who are key contributors to the story and fully fleshed out characters in this one. We learn a lot about Yondu through Peter Quill and a lot about Nebula through Gamora. And let's just say the reason these two don't get along is because they have some major daddy issues. To see how that ties into Infinity War will be interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Even though Thanos doesn't make a cameo appearance this time around, we still have a pretty cool villain. No, not her, but I'll get to that later. The best part about this movie's villain is that you don't know who it is until the final act. It's almost like Marvel gave us a kidney punch and went, haha, didn't expect that one now, did ya? I won't say who it is, cause I gotta keep the spoiler free for the 5 people who haven't seen it yet. Humor has always been a driving factor in the MCU, but the Guardians have always held the most comedic value. But ever since Batman v Superman, I felt that Marvel has been trying a little bit too hard to have their movies recognized as the funny ones. While that wasn't so much the case with Civil War and Doctor Strange, Guardians 2 is a prime example of that theory. I like superhero movies that can make me laugh, but I also want to be shocked. Maybe even cry a little. This movie had some emotional moments, but they're almost always undercut by a joke. Especially in the last part of the movie, when the tensions are incredibly high, yet the characters are just coming out with something that's witty and snappy. I felt like when he was at that part of the script, James Gunn was constantly asking himself, how can I make the audience laugh? The more this movie goes on, the less it feels like a superhero movie and more like a comedy that just so happens to have superheroes in it. It had the same problem as the first Avengers movie. They kept the team split up for a good chunk of it and only brought them together back at the end for the final battle and to do the epic trailer shot. This is part of the reason why I say Age of Ultron is the better Avengers movie. Also, Ayesha was highly undeveloped as a villain and a character. It felt like she was only there to promote for Guardians 3 or Avengers Untitled sequel. She was still a bit of a driving force in the movie as she sends the Ravagers to go after the Guardians. But then she shows up later with her own army and it just doesn't make any sense. Why hire a bunch of bottom-of-the-barrel bounty hunters to go after them when you can send your own soldiers? After several months of waiting, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 doesn't quite live up to the hype. It had great chemistry and awesome soundtracks, some pretty cool action sequences, and amazing special effects, but it was boggled down by universe building, having too much comedy, and for keeping the team apart for most of the runtime. I'm glad I saw it, but I don't see myself picking up the Blu-ray in the foreseeable future. I know it's out of theaters now, but my rating would be to see it at least once in theaters. But don't spring for the IMAX ticket. It's not worth it. Alright, that's my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Leave your answer by commenting down below. And as always, this is the Canadian Movie Buff saying, I hope you had a fantastic weekend at the movies. See ya!